Okay, hi there. Wagtunes here, and I'm going to be doing a very short little, not even a demo, it's basically just a review of Rapid. And the reason I'm doing this, honestly, is because the developer asked me to. I said I was going to go over it, and he kind of reminded me I said I would, and so I don't want to go back on my word, so that's why I'm doing this. Having said that, this isn't going to be a butt-kissing overview. I'm going to be totally honest with my opinion of this synth as far as everything I'm going to go over. Let's start with the patch browser, which is where I'm at right now. I like it. I think it's perfectly fine. Everything is nice and clear. You can see where everything is. These are all of the things that I'm working on right now for my library. I have about 70 patches done so far, and I haven't even scratched the surface. This synth is surprisingly more flexible than I thought it was going to be before I actually got it. In that respect, I'm pleasantly surprised. Doesn't mean I think it's perfect, but I really, I'm very pleased with what this thing can do. However, and there are howevers, and I'll get to them shortly. So like I said, the browser's fine. No problems, no complaints. You could see everything clearly. Everything's, alphabetized, beautiful. Okay. Let's go to your layer screen. Now, you've got 8 layers. Now, a lot of people have said that you don't need 8 layers. Well, no, I guess you really don't. But I put together one patch that didn't even come close to maxing this thing out, and I used 4 layers easily. Could I have used another couple? This was basically a percussion track. Yeah, without a doubt, I could have used 5 or 6 layers. So they come in handy. I'm glad that there's 8 layers. I may never use 8, but I'm glad there's 8. There are 3 oscillators for each layer. You have 7 effect slots for each layer. Okay? You've got your main volume envelope, filter envelope, and 2 additional envelopes for each layer. 4 LFOs, 4 sequencers, and an arpeggiator. Okay, this thing is, it's stocked. Okay, it is stocked. There's not a lot you can't do with this. And I'm just going to do a really quick patch, before I'm actually finished. What's my one big complaint about this? Let's really get down to it, because the sound is great. The effects are excellent. I especially love the delays. The delays are really great. The sound is rich, it's lush, it's full. I have no problems with how this thing sounds and with the flexibility of it, except for one thing, and I'm going to show you right now. Okay. These are your factory sounds, your wavetables, waveforms, whatever you want to call them. There are 457 because it starts at 0. So that makes 457. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot of, it's a lot of waves. But that's it. Now, this is a $235 synth. I'm on €199. Do the conversion to US dollars, it's $235. For a $235 synth, I expect to be able to import my own wavetables, waveforms, and create my own waves. I absolutely, that's a no-brainer. I have synths that are not even this expensive where I can do that. Zebra 2, I can bring in my own, wavetables, create my own waveforms. Dune 2 even, which is I think only like $169, I could bring in my own wavetables. And so on and so on. Now, having said that, those synths though are, limited as far as the number of layers and what you could do with them compared to this synth. So there is a trade-off. Okay, so let's be fair here. But, and I'm not the only one who's complained about this, for this synth, for me, to be close to a perfect 10, and no synth is a perfect 10, but to be close to it, this synth has to allow you to import your own sounds. I'm sorry, that's a deal breaker. So had I not gotten this I was lucky enough to be one of the people that was chosen to get this at a discount, and I paid $160 after the conversion of, currency. Had I not been able to get this for $160, to be perfectly honest, for $235, I would not buy it. I wouldn't even have to think about it. I would not pay that much money for this synth, for what it can do. Maybe I'm being unfair. I don't know. But I'm not the only one who's complained about this. I'm hoping for the future that they will include that capability. And here's part of the reason why I feel so strongly about this. Let's take something like, what am I looking for? Let's take Attack 7. All right. Now, with any other synth, the sustain of that sound would be controlled by the envelope. But this sound is actually a short sample. Take a listen. That's it. Now, I have the sustain. If you could watch on screen. I'm keeping the sustain down, but it's only sounding for, like not even a second. You have a number of sounds like that that are basically only good for, attack transients. They're good for the beginning of sounds and nothing else. You can't use them for anything else other than the very, very, initial attack of a sound. So they are limited in what you can use them for. So now you start subtracting from the 457, samples that you've got. Now you don't quite have as many because many of them are, like I said, limited use. So this is why, to me, it's so important that you can import your own sounds. Because then you control, if you want a short sound, you control it via the envelope. To me, having a sound that is automatically cuts off after hitting a key, I don't get the logic in that when you have envelopes. So, again, I know I'm harping on this, but this really sticks in my craw. This whole multi-sample thing, the limitations, not being able to bring in my own sounds, and what some of these waveforms actually do and don't do. Okay. Going back here. So, let's say I want to do a lead sound. Well, I know I've got to actually bring up something that is going to sustain. So let's just take a basic, take a saw square. Okay, and if we morph it, okay, so why don't we throw a little modulation wheel on the morph, crank it all the way up, and then if we play it, it morphs from a saw to a square wave. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then we can add another oscillator. Let's do something a little bit more, oh, I don't know. Another problem is I look at some of the descriptions of these waves and I'm like, I have no freaking clue what this stuff sounds like. So you really have to experiment a lot. Oh gee, confused one. Alright, I'm already confused. Well, that looks pretty ugly. Alright, it's kind of a harsh sound, which I expect with the way that waveform looks. If we morph it, I'd actually want to morph this in reverse. So what we're going to do is we're going to mod wheel oscillator B morph, and we're going to go backwards on this. Yeah. So we put the two together, we get something like this. Okay, kind of dry sounding, so let's throw a delay on it. And I love the delay on this thing. I'm telling you, the effects on this is one of the best delays of all the synths I've got. I'm really enjoying this one. Yeah, I love that delay. I love the way this sounds. I can't knock the sound of this thing. I can't knock it at all. Okay, and as far as I said, I was making a lead, so you know what you want to do is you want to go here and you want to basically put on legato. So in case you want to limit yourself to one note, or if you don't want legato, then you could just throw that down to one there. Problem with that is that it doesn't play legato. If you play a note and hold it down, play another note, it doesn't sound. So that's a pretty crappy way of actually doing, a lead sound. With legato, you could do stuff like that. Okay, let's take the legato off for now. I want to show you the sequencer. The sequencer on this thing is really funky. Hold on. It's not the way normal sequencers work. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to take this shape. Okay, you'll notice in this area here is playing the same note for about 5 or 6 beats. Okay, let's throw the sequencer on the pitch, an octave range. Yeah, we'll do 1/8. Now listen to what happens when I play this. You'll notice that each note does not trigger. What you have to do to get your sequencer to trigger each note is you have to go to the arpeggiator, and you have to turn this on. Okay, and the arpeggiator, I'm going to throw this on mono. The arpeggiator is then going to trigger each note on the sequence. And if you want to emphasize that, we'll go to the envelope, crank the sustain all the way off, bring the decay down. And as you can hear, the sequencer then triggers each note. So you have to use the sequencer and the arpeggiator together in order to get that kind of thing. If you've got the same note triggering one after another. Now, if all your notes are different, you don't have to use the arpeggiator. The sequencer will go from one note to another. I've just gotten to the point already where I just throw on the arpeggiator with the sequencer whenever I want to do a sequence. Okay? That's, you know what? That's all I'm going to go over. I love the way this thing sounds. I love that the sequencer is very flexible. I mean, look at all the different shapes you have. You could do some really, really funky sequences with this thing. And imagine doing a sequence for each layer and a different sequence for each layer. I mean, you can get crazy with this. You have plenty of, modulation slots. I mean, look at this thing. You got 32 of them per layer. Like I said, the only complaint that I have about this entire synthesizer is the inability to create or import your own waves. I think it's a glaring omission. I'm begging the developer to please incorporate this. Not only will it make this a $235 synth, it will make this more than a $235 synth. It will make this the bargain of a lifetime. Trust me, I have got so many synthesizers, and there are very few that I have that can do what Rapid can do. Very few. I can count them on less than a hand. This thing's really, really special. But not being able to import your own waves, big, big, big minus for it. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfect, 1 being absolutely horrible, I have to give Rapid an 8.5. I have to, because it just sounds so great, and I love the effects, I love the sequencer, I love the 8 layers. I'm knocking it off 1.5 basically for the inability to create your own waveforms and tables. That's it. So there you have it. There's my review of Rapid. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is Wagtunes of KVR Forums saying have a great day.